Speaking about the medical system,
Mhm.
whether we're talking about here locally in Canada or North America more broadly, or even the entire world for that matter, I think people, and especially in the past few years, there has been faith that has been lost in the medical system for various reasons. Now, it's a there are many components to this question, but it's like, first of all, why has the faith been lost? What has been going on? I mean, many people unfortunately have had quite a terrible experience whether it's at the ER, in the walk-in clinic, uh, very long wait times, doctors that are overworked. And then if you go further beyond that, you start to question, okay, is the medical system designed to cure us, or is it designed to prolong treatment and to unfortunately benefit? Of course, there is a financial component to every industry
Right.
on earth. And if you want to say there's a good and bad, right, with every single industry. But it's quite a broad question. We can go down many different paths.
Right.
But what's your thought on the current state of the medical system as it stands today?
Well, I'll preface that by saying I'm on the outside looking in on that, but I have my mother and my two sisters are nurses, so they're in the medical system. First, I want to say, first off, is the medical system is under a tremendous amount of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about, we're losing faith in them, but, in defense of the medical profession, I will say this, straight up, is that in our information age we're in now, a lot of individuals will go to the internet for medical information. And I have to admit, that's tough on practitioners. It's really, really tough on them, where they'll have the patient come in, they've had, extensive schooling. All of a sudden, they'll have a patient come in and said, hey, I saw in a YouTube video that this is this, and that's what I think I have. And, they'll question the doctor, and that's, they're right. But that's really tough in a day. I mean, I have it as well. Like, patients will come in and explain, they see these certain things, and I do my best to answer them. And secondly is that, you have to understand that practitioners, they can't be all things to all people. I'm in a very privileged position where I have a very relatively narrow range of conditions I treat. If somebody came to me for a kidney problem or, had an issue with, a fracture in the bone, I'm not the guy to see it for that. Mm-hmm. My general practitioner, the poor guy, I feel for him because he's got to know a lot of everything about everything. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's really, really difficult for them. And of course you get patients that will come in and they demand an answer right away and a cure right away. That's tough for them. But on the other flip side of the coin, there's always improvement can be made in any system. And let's use the healthcare system. Let's not use the word medicine, because I think we're just pointing fingers too much here. But I think the key here is if we could take a step back, get a 30,000 foot view of, what are the available resources we have for dealing with certain conditions, and is there a better way to triage them? And is there a better way that we can, funnel these conditions to other individuals? That would be the utopic way to look at it. However, there's something called bias that's out there, and bias is a darn hard thing to get rid of. And I'll be honest with you, in my small world of, treating head trauma, in cases I've just lost count of, when people go, hey, I heard about Dr. Lawrence and I want to go see him. And, somebody will look up my name and they'll see, diplomate, fellowship, blah, blah, blah. And I'll see the word chiropractor, which I don't really practice much anymore. They go, no, I can't understand how you want to go see a chiropractor who's going to, adjust your neck or your lower back and fix your head trauma. I mean, it's a real issue. So there's many layers to this thing, and finances play into the case as well. I mean, there's only a limited amount of resources we have for these sort of things. Again, in the utopic world, if we were able to have everybody's qualifications on the table, see what they do, and work more cohesively, again, that's an obvious thing. It would be better, but there's a lot of financial issues that are at play. There's bias at play. It's just too complex of an issue. And, many different governments have tried to solve it and they haven't. And people think we have a doctor shortage. That may or may not be the case, but we've seen since COVID, that the access to healthcare is really taken a downturn. So I wish I had the answer. If I did, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. But even those small steps to maybe having a more of a central reevaluation of triaging patients so that we don't get bottlenecks in certain places, I guess that'd be my best answer I can give you, at this moment in time.
No, it's a great answer, and I do appreciate how much of a complex and sensitive issue it is. It's not, if it was simple, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So it definitely goes quite deep, and like you said, we could go many layers down the rabbit hole.
Right.
I do respect very much practitioners like yourself who, once again, practice what they preach, look at the problem from a holistic standpoint, and examine and try to dissect and go to the core issue and what's really going on, what lies beneath. Now, correct me if I'm mistaken, doctor, and you can speak to this better than I could ever do. So doctors conventionally these days, although there are many, many great and brilliant doctors, and without doctors, many people would lose their lives. That's a fact. But my question is, has it turned into just an industry of managing symptoms and prolonging life at the sacrifice of the quality of it? So trying to prolong life regardless of what the quality is like. So the person might live a few extra years, but in the process, his blood pressure is through the roof, or, he's frail and weak. He can barely get up. I'm sure we know people in our immediate circle that have dealt with consequences like that. And it's a very tough thing to witness. So how do we steer away from just simply going right to medication as a first resort and going to pills as the end all be all? So how do we avoid that? And I feel like there's a revamp that needs to happen. And I'm just thinking out loud here. It's like, I believe doctors do about 25 hours of nutrition throughout their entire course of education. And to be honest, I feel that's quite problematic.
Mm-hmm.
I think many, many people agree with me. Again, we're just regular citizens making speculations. But I think it's a fair thing to say that nutrition needs to be taken into consideration, lifestyle. And unfortunately, lots of the time, whether we're talking about family doctors or even cardiologists, you'd go and find an out of shape doctor that doesn't, that's smoking, that doesn't take care of their health,
Mm-hmm.
and is preaching what they're not practicing. It's a sad thing to see for them. They're not taking care of themselves, and they're going down a dark path, and then they're prescribing something that they're not even sustaining. So what are your thoughts about that? And I'd love to hear, your perspective, because you're in the heart of all of this, and you're a very respectable, reputable doctor. And I'm sure many people would love to hear your thoughts, and hopefully we could change, be the beginning of the change that we'd love to see.
Well, I think that's a great question. Again, it's you're hitting with some great questions today. I got to admit, they're pretty in depth. I guess the first thing to talk about the issue of medication. I'm not anti-medication. Medication is pharmacology's essential, absolutely essential. I think you could look at it in two ways. In the pharmacology world and the natural supplement world, there's overprescription in both. There absolutely is overprescription in both. You think one is safer than the other, that's up for debate, but you have to be careful with both of them is really important. So getting back to the issue of, how can we maybe steer ourselves away from pills and lead a more of a health prevention lifestyle? I think the issue is we've seen a change over time where, back in the 50s and 60s, exercise really was, not super in vogue, but diet at that time was much better. Well, previous to that was quite a bit better. So I think I remember seeing a picture of Manhattan Beach in New York City, a picture of beachgoers in 1962 or something like that. And then there's one in 2023. And of course, you see there's a huge difference
Vast
there.
difference. Mm-hmm.
So diet plays into that as a big thing. And again, we're in a situation where we're in this digital age where, being sedentary is more of an issue. You know, they call sitting the new smoking.
It's the new smoking.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but on the flip side of that, we've seen that, you know, the advent of physical activity has just gone through the roof, you know, just all sorts of things, CrossFit training, you know, Spartan races, you know, triathlons, so the whole 9 yards. We've really seen that come up. So being on the prevention journey, if you think you're going to go to your healthcare practitioner and have them be your savior, that's really not the case. You got to be your own advocate for your own health. And that's where you could use them as advice source, which is great. And again, you know, the internet also has its sources as well. But that's a real inside job as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you go in, and if you've got, you know, a path where whichever type of healthcare practitioner you're seeing, and you just don't feel maybe that's the right path, seeking second opinions is always your, you know, God-given right to do that sort of thing. But I think really the real person to look at for that preventative type of healthful lifestyle is the person you're looking at in the mirror. But that's tough. Sometimes it's hard to motivate yourself, which is difficult because there's no accountability. And what happens is most of people's attitude is, I won't do anything until something forces me to do that, which is either pain or some chronic condition, and then they react. So our general mentality is not one of prevention generally. It's, you know, let's do something once, you know, I'm forced to do it. And that's where our medical system comes in. And that's where they have to take that burden on, you know, that's their unfortunate responsibility. And that's why there's I think one of the reasons for the backlog is because, you know, it starts with our mentality of, you know, a number of people saying, I'm not going to do anything, I'm just going to coast along. And then if something goes wrong, then I'll go have somebody else, here, you fix me kind of thing. So we got those two, you know, issues at play that's, you know, caused our, one of the reasons that caused our reliance on some maybe type of supplements or medication that's gotten us to this point.
I really love what you said earlier about how you should be your own advocate, you know, for your health, because nobody's going to be taking care of you better than yourself. Nobody wants the best for you more than you do for yourself. And that's exactly what this show is about. It's to empower people, because we've outsourced all of these things for long enough. We've outsourced our health to hospitals and, you know, to people outside of ourselves. We've outsourced our finances. All of these things, we've given power to other people outside of us.
Right.
When in reality, we could take back that power through education, through proper guidance, knowing, you know, we have more access to knowledge than any previous time in human history. So we might as well take advantage of it, you know, in the right way, rather than just watch cat videos and